Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Steven Chase Cameraman, and today we're talking about The Flash Season 3, Episode 6, the fan series, of course, Run. Thank God, I think I just did like 12 takes on that one intro. I couldn't get that done. Okay, let's talk about this thing. I've been reviewing this fan series for over a year at this point. I have thoughts. I think I say it every time, but I have a lot to say about this thing. And I don't have anything to say about it before we get into it. In this review, I'm going to be talking about the episode, of course, but I'm also going to be giving some thoughts on the whole season. One thing I just want to begin by saying is in July, I'm going to be doing a video predictions for the upcoming Crimsonverse. So I might discuss some of that here, but I'm also going to save some stuff from then. For then, I mean, but it's going to be sometime in July. I am doing daily July videos, so it's going to come out 1 out of 31 videos. So get ready for that. This is I was going into this with very mixed thoughts. I will say, the biggest issue, one huge issue I have with the season is the fact that they did not have a good release schedule. You will see that this, I think, was the worst performing season of the fan series. Even though it was the best season. I can say that certainly at this point. This is the best season. Yet, I think it was the worst performing. I think it could be season 1 or this. I think season 2, performed better every episode than this. This was just, it was very good. I think that's just what I'd say. My big issue is the fact that they did, episodes 1, 2, 3 were 1, 2, 3 in a row, I believe. They may have deleted, I don't even think they deleted Shadowlands at all. I think it was a bang, bang, bang. And then they did Prelude. And then I think they did pretty much 4 or 5 weeks. I think they did 5 weeks in a row, except they skipped maybe a week in there. But I think it was pretty solid, like 6 weeks when we were getting 5 times. I think that sounds about right. I think we got Batman vs. Arrow in mid-April, maybe? Mid-late April. I think that sounds about right timing-wise. Doesn't really matter. What matters is the fact that I think that all that to that point is fine. I think then it went about 3 weeks until we got year 1. And I think it was about a month until we got this episode. And I understand. They went huge with some of the production for these episodes. I completely understand why these episodes needed to get delayed. But I feel like they should have decided that prior. Because from someone who has seen this season alone already twice going into this finale, and that was prior to episode, I saw them sometimes. I don't think I saw it. I think that was a few weeks ago at this point. So I was watching it, so I was like, wait, what exactly happened prior? Wait, what happened? I'm a little confused. I don't fully remember exactly. And I think that's kind of, it's an issue one that they didn't do it previously on. I think if they're taking that much time between episodes, they at least need to do it previously on. And I wish that they also had the episodes closer. I know that's not always something they can control, but then maybe they push back the season a little. Maybe they say, let's push it back a month so that it can be bang, 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 and we're getting 6 episodes, 6 weeks. Because that would benefit, I think, their audience as well. So it wouldn't be, oh, we're waiting to get the trailer for it so that we'll get a release date. It would be then, oh, we know next week this one episode's going to release. And I think that could have really benefited them. They could have benefited a lot from that. Yeah, that was just something I did want to talk about. That is a huge suggestion I have for Season 4. Another thing I have for Season 4, which I'm just going to get away with before I start talking about this episode, I would say, this is a huge ask. If they do, I think the best thing they could do is, I think, a December release. So really take about 6 months to develop this season, which I think is the most they've ever taken. I think it's about as much as they did for Season 3, actually. No, it's a little more. And whatever, but they would... Well, no, because they also had Constantine. Okay, yes, about 6 months. It would be a 5-episode season. Each episode's 40 minutes. I think that could go... They would then step it up. Because I really should do a full Season 3 review. I really should, because I'm going to be doing pretty much that in this video anyway. But I feel like what I loved about this season was it really trying to step up to the CW show. It had the episodes that were experimental. We got Shadowlands. And we also had the awkwardly kind of paced finale with this. But I also liked it. The finale was incredible. but it did have the CW pacing. It was longer than a CW episode, actually, so I'm very happy with that. But I feel like that could be done. That could be very interesting if they took the time to do a 5-episode longer season, I think. And I think the audience would benefit from it, maybe. Even if they did 30 minutes. If they did the short, a little bit longer episodes, I think it would put the season forward a little more. It would really step up their status. I don't know what they're doing with Killer Frost. I hope she's not the main villain, personally. I don't know how she could be a cool main villain for The Flash. Another thing, let's talk about Crisis. Let's just get this on my chest quickly before, I really should talk about the episode itself. I really want to say, I think that there's a huge chance that in a year from now, I'll be sitting in this exact place and saying, let's talk about Crisis. And I think that the fact that they're teasing and in 1 year, Crisis will be here, I hope that's what they do. I really hope they're not saying, in Flash time, it's going to be in 1 year now. Like, shut up. It's going to be in a year. I really hope that we get 2 more seasons in The Flash prior to that. And if we only get 1, I hope it's a really big season. And if it is only 1, I hope that we also then get Batman. Because we deserve Batman in our lives. But I think the fact that if they're doing Killer Frost as the season 4 villain, and that's the final season of Flash prior to Crisis, because I think there's a good chance that once Crisis hits, from what I'm talking about this more in my prediction video, I think Flash is going to die in Crisis, and the Marvel stuff like Captain America, and I think Captain America could release before it. I would actually think Captain America might actually release prior to Crisis. But besides from Captain America, I think any Captain America sequels, I think Superman, Constantine 2, I think all that's going to release after it because Liam doesn't play the Flash anymore. So then there wouldn't be that stuff, it would be all the other stuff. Then Batman and Arrow, I think, would take the main stage in this universe. I don't know if the Flash is actually going to die. I really don't. But I don't know what's going to happen. It's only been a year, really, since Flash was created. This, I will say, if they do Crisis, they have to do, as I was saying, if they have season 4 be its final season, I think that could be really weak. Because I think 6 episodes can't be a compelling final arc. I think they kind of have to do what season 6 of The Flash or season 8 of Arrow did. Or season 6 part 1 The Flash, at least. Like, have at least 1 or 2 seasons prepping Crisis. Or even, honestly, if they did 1 season, season 4 was the final season prepping Crisis, but then had, how do I explain this? Like, if season 4 was prepping Crisis, I think that would actually be very interesting. But I hope that also it will be a really grand season. The issue that I have with that is I think a season that is the final season of the show has to bring back villains and stuff. But that's what this season was. So if they do that, I don't see how the main villain could kind of like how Cobalt Blue was the final villain of The Flash. Like, it's not a compelling, interesting story. Like, I really hope they do something big with it. Which is why I feel like they're also kind of, their placement with Crisis is interesting. I should talk about this more in my predictions video. Let's actually talk about the episode. I don't even know how far I'm into this video. It's going to be a long one. This was the best episode I think they've ever produced. I'm willing to say that, actually. Yeah, I am. This episode, I think, captures everything I like about this Crimsonverse and puts it on display. I will say this season, I think, pretty much was incredible in almost every way. I think this episode specifically really impressed me. It took a lot of... I think this season really followed the season 8 arc of The Flash, which I love. I've said in many videos, I think season 8 of The Flash is at the point where The Flash kind of sucks. But the actual plot of it is pretty badass. And I think that is really shown in this season. Because they really hone in on Reverse Flashpoint and the Armageddon plot. I think one small criticism is if they're going to do Crisis and have a third Red Sky, I think that's a little bit of an odd choice. But besides from that, I think that they did a very good job really setting the mood of it. I will say the opening few minutes did drag. I'm not going to lie about that. I think the opening scenes with Oliver Barry and Bruce in the warehouse kind of dragged a little. Once the red skies hit, I think it really took off. I love the idea of the Argus agents. I love the idea of Reverse Flash. I will say it was definitely paced a little quickly, though. I'm not going to deny it. The episode was paced quickly, especially with the fact that there was a ton of epilogue scenes. But at the end of the day, it's also a Flash finale based off the CW shows. What do you expect? Like, that's pretty much what the CW shows are with the finale. It has, like, the finale is, like, halfway through the show, and then you have epilogue the rest of it. But I think what this episode did is it did a lot of really fun stuff. I think Barry was good in this episode. I actually kind of liked it. I will say I feel like this season was a little bit all over the place. That was probably my biggest complaint this season. It didn't... I feel like I really wanted to see more side characters in the show, but I feel like this season was like, let's have an episode... Like, it was going from, like, a Barry episode to a team episode. And I think this episode could have been more of a Barry-centric, almost. I feel like what Year One did was it felt like it was a really Barry adventure. And I really liked that. I feel like this episode was more of a Barry and Friends episode. I kind of wish it had a little more just Barry, or Barry and just Eobard, I think. But, again, yeah. I think once the Red Skies, I liked the Argus scene. I thought that was a very fun scene. I liked pretty much everything that happened in the Red Skies. I liked the talk with Savitar. I think Savitar was a bit... I don't really understand exactly what Savitar did this season, looking back on it. I don't fully understand what Savitar's plot was. I guess he wanted to work with Reverse Flash, and then Reverse Flash kind of, like, overtook him, and he didn't like that. But it was definitely still interesting. I don't fully understand the Reverse Flash having Barry's face. I think that was the Reverse Flash in Shadowlands. But then I don't get why that was... Unless that wasn't Thawne. I think there's still a few unanswered questions. But unless that was... I don't know. That was odd. Maybe I'm just missing something because, as I said, I feel like the breaks in the episodes really mess with your head. But I think last episode was really incredible with how they tied everything together. And this episode, I feel like, kind of was like, we need a big finale. Which I don't hate. But I think it was like, the battle is over. Now we have the big final battle. Like how Crisis had their finale, and then they had their second finale in episode 5. That's kind of what this felt like, in my opinion. But I still very much enjoyed it. I think that's the big thing. I think going into it, I felt like it was unnecessary, but they did it so well. Because I think their final battle with Eobard was very interesting and very fun. I love how they decide to finish Eobard. How they're like, draw him out, let's have Savitar finish it, because Savitar is the only one that can, like, catch him off guard. He's a speedster. I love that. I think that was a very fun idea. I really enjoyed it. And I think that was, like, a really creative idea that I love the show did. I think all of that was very good, and I loved pretty much everything to that point. I think all of that was great. And then came the epilogue scenes. I think Barry in this episode kind of... Liam overplays Barry a little. Maybe I feel like the character of Barry feels like a character almost. Like, he's a little bit too funny almost. And he's a little bit, like... He's a little bit too much. Or maybe I'm just like... Maybe he's, like, finally happy and he's the weight of Eobard gone. But who knows. At the end, when you have the lightning storm, I think it's a very good idea. I like it. I don't get exactly... I think hopefully we do find out in Deja Vu. I don't know exactly what that episode's going to be. I hope that we do get Barry... Something with Barry. And we find out what exactly happened in the 3 months or whatever he was in the Speed Force. I hope we figure out exactly what happened in that time period. If we don't, I think that's kind of a letdown, because that was a powerful moment when he was leaving those people, when he was leaving Bruce and Oliver. And then he kind of just shows up a few minutes later. I think it would have been powerful if we didn't see him until I do like that he comes back and sees his Crisis. I love that. But I wish we figure out what exactly his sacrifice was. Like, what exactly did he do? I think them teasing Crisis, as I said, part of the issue that I have with them doing Crisis so soon is the fact that they haven't built the universe up that much. To this point, they've done 3 seasons of The Flash and Constantine. That's it, I think. In the next year, we are confirmed for Green Arrow, so we're getting a Green Arrow project, and we have seen Batman and stuff. So, in the next year, we may see a Batman project, we may see a Stargirl project, I'll talk about that in a second. We may see other characters appear in Season 4 of The Flash, but I feel like almost The Flash is like where all the heroes are meeting. So what is Crisis? What is Crisis that The Flash isn't? I feel like they really need to either release a ton of projects in next year, or Crisis isn't in 365 days, and it is, what if we put it off a little longer and we get a ton more heroes, so when they all appear on screen, it is a massive, massive event. Because I think that is something that Crisis should be. And I think if they do Crisis and then they just keep moving forward with the universe, then Crisis didn't have the impact it should have. I think what the Arrowverse did so well is it had the entirety of Arrow Season 8 and half of Flash Season 7 entirely focused on the Crisis. The Crisis was an entity, it was a villain. And I really love one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of the Arrowverse. It's not even a scene, I'd say. It's 2 scenes. It is Oliver and Mia on Lian and Flash and his friends in the lounge in Star Labs and the skies go red. That moment when the musical cue hits and the skies go red, especially when you're watching it for the first time and you've been watching it through and you've seen these characters grow in these 8 episodes and be like, what's going to happen? Are they going to die in Crisis? And when Crisis finally hits, it's like 8 episodes built up to the red sky, not the Crisis, the red sky. Like, I think that's why episode 1 of Crisis is the best episode, because it really took the scale to a maximum. And I think what the Arrowverse honestly needs to do, not the Arrowverse, the Crimsonverse, needs to kind of like get a few smaller scale projects. We should get like 15 heroes and get like a ton of people. So like when Crisis happens, it is the scale of the event is so huge that it is bringing together fandoms from all over, and it should be an event, not an episode almost. But that's my Crisis round. As for Stargirl, this is a very interesting one for me. I have been saying all season, I want to just make it clear, I do not like the Stargirl character. I do not hate the character. I've never seen an episode that she's been in, and I just have no care to. I have no connection or affiliation to this character, but they introduced this character. They do so much promotion with her in the thumbnails, and she's in the suit. I'm like, oh my god, we're getting a new hero. I'm so excited. And we never see her in the costume. Well, we see her partially in the costume, but we never see her in person in the costume. We never see her fight. And we never see her on screen with another character. And it's a very interesting thing. Because if this season did not have Stargirl, I don't know how this season would have changed. And not just that. I think that if they needed to have the Pat storyline, they could have just used another person and Barry helping a random person, so that it wasn't a superhero and just was some random person. So then it wouldn't be like, oh, you introduced a hero that we never saw. And I know that there were production issues. I know that there was I never spoke about this, but I know that they got rid of the actor who played Ralph Dibny, which I know there were some issues between. I understand. Trust me, I know. But why introduce Stargirl if you're not going to do anything with her? And I really hope that the Crimsonverse can kind of do what Buckeye Studios or even Menacing Studios tried to do, which is branch out from their brand. They could have the Flash be their main thing, sure, but everything also I don't think needs to be involving Liam Head that much. They could say, let's just do a Green Arrow fan film pretty much just by, oh my god, why am I forgetting his name? Oh my god, yeah. Or if they do, just a Batman project. Like, Ethan Tope, that's Batman, and Scott Wilson, that's Arrow. Okay, good. But if they did, like, projects that were kind of on their own, or even if Liam was somewhat affiliated, but it was more like, this is just another faction universe, I think then that can make the scale of the universe almost feel bigger. So then it was like, we could do more with so many more characters, so that when Crisis hits, Crisis is a big event, not just, let's just bring a few heroes together, because that was this season. But yeah, let's go into the 6 points in the episode. I do apologize if you don't feel like I actually reviewed the episode in this video, and this video is too long. I will say, I feel like this episode is so good, but I also don't feel like this episode there's much to say about it. I think that's the thing with a lot of CW finales, or just like if you're watching a series and it's the finale, I think the finale is more like you talk about the cliffhangers and you talk about what happened. I feel like in a finale, for many shows, you don't talk about the finale itself, because it's kind of like self-explanatory. But this finale was just good. I just don't have many thoughts, almost, because it's not built, like, we know what it's building towards, but we don't. Like, we know it's going to Crisis, but we don't know what happens prior to Crisis. But, yeah, let's just go into the 6 points. Directing, very well. Loved a lot of the shots in this. Editing, I think the super speed was very well done in this. Acting was good. I think this is some of the best performances we've gotten. Story was good. As I said, I think the story in this episode was very well thought out. The pacing was a little rough, but I don't think there was much for them to be done about that. Choreography was good. I don't think there was much there was. Choreography was solid. And the music, like always, is great. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.